Commander Charles Kerchner back on the air tonight again, and we're coming up to a very exciting time, November 23rd. Circle it on your calendar. I'm looking forward to it. I think you have one. Do you have anything else to finish up with, gentlemen?
Well, just the docket number in the Supreme Court is 10-446, and if I may just, one more time, they can read all about this case at Mario Apuzzo's legal blog at Apuzzo1.blogspot.com, Apuzzo1.blogspot.com, and my fundraising website for the case is protectourliberty.org. That's O-U-R in there, protectourliberty.org. And any last questions, Les? Mario and I'd be happy to answer.
Where do we go from here, gentlemen? Let's go through both choices. Where do we go if they don't bring this to the Supreme Court?
If they don't take it, Mario can explain. We get a shot at a rehearing, one-time rehearing by the Supreme Court to ask them to look at it again and introduce new arguments and new material that may have transpired since we filed initially. Correct, Mario?
That's correct. Yeah, there is a rehearing process that can be resorted to. It's presented to one justice, and they'd be asked to take a look at it again based on something that's material that wasn't presented or something new that has popped up in the meantime. So I mean that's a possibility there. And then of course after that, then you have the political process again. But the problem with that is that, we can't expect the political process to define what a natural-born citizen is. We can't rely on the political process to rule of law.
Right. We can't vote. You can't have 51% of people vote what a clause in the Constitution means. That's not the rule of law.
Exactly.
And Congress can't define it either. They don't have the power under the Constitution to define a natural-born citizen, because then they would be changing the requirements to be president. Okay, and that's set in the Constitution. Like, they can't change 35 years. They can't change 14 years residence. Likewise, they can't change what a natural-born citizen is. So that's a heck of a problem.
So we come.
Natural-born citizen is defined by nature, by the way. If you're born of two citizens and born in this country, you don't need any statutory law to make you a citizen, a natural-born citizen in the United States, because you are one. That's what 95% or more of the people are in this country that are citizens. They're natural-born citizens. They don't need a certificate from the State Department making them a citizen.
So we come to a watershed moment in American history, basically.
That's right.
We either
do we have a constitution? Do we have a rule of law? Or it has totally been usurped by the progressive movement.
And if it's usurped, we are doomed to tyranny and dictatorial.
Well, then whatever happens, they caused it.
Oh, yeah, and we're allowing the political process and the executive and legislative branch of government actually amend our Constitution without going through Article 5, which provides for the amendment process.
Well, progressives have they have no respect for the Constitution anyway, and they don't care. The ends justifies the means to them.
Oh, they point to it. They point to it if it helps their case.
Oh, absolutely. The ACLU.
Protect those people, the TSA people searching the 4-year-olds you were talking about. And all the other issues that are out there. They'll use the Constitution for their purposes, but not when it comes to something that they want to.
Quickly about the TSA, Mario. Isn't this a flagrant abuse of a number of statutes of sexual molestation, sexual assault, invasion of privacy? What is going on here with that?
Well, the main part there is you're under the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure. Okay, the amendment says there shall not be any unreasonable search and seizure. You have to have, probable cause or suspicion, exigent circumstances. I mean, there are exceptions to a warrant, okay? But, people have a reasonable expectation of privacy. The question then becomes, by going on an airplane, are you waiving that particular right of privacy? Well, absolutely not. You're not waiving it. Then another question is, well, national security, safety, is that enough to overcome your personal right to privacy? So that's really where the battleground is going to be on something like that. If somebody files a lawsuit and you apply the Fourth Amendment to it, is the court going to carve out an exception to it and say, no, in the interest of, whatever, you've waived your right of privacy and, you have to, go to that. Also, you're not obligated to do that. You can go for a manual screening, but then that's even more invasive.
Yeah.
Where they're actually touching you and so on and so forth. So they're not giving you much of a, of a choice.
No, that's what I was talking about. I'm not talking about the screening so much as the groping and the fondling of women and children. I believe sometime soon somebody's going to get cold cocked when that happens. I think if I was a father and somebody was fondling my 13 or 15 or 16-year-old daughter and touching her breast and between her legs, I might go off. I mean, I think somebody might just go off. And, I don't know. Or what can we as Americans do? Can we call 911 and press charges? Can we take photos and use it as proof in a lawsuit? What can we do?
Well, you'd have to file a lawsuit and argue that the procedure is an invasion of your Fourth Amendment rights, because it is the government doing it. They're the ones touching you and so on and so forth. So you'd have to do that, and then clearly you'd have standing because you don't want to go through this process and be touched and so on and so forth. And the court would be asked, is that a violation of the Fourth Amendment right to privacy and not to have an unreasonable invasion? With abortion, we have privacy.
Political correctness gone berserk and
absolutely.
lack of common sense.
It's destroying our country. Listen, gentlemen, we're coming up to the top of the hour. Thank you so much for being on the show again. I'll have you back sometime in December. I want to hear about what's going on with your case. Maybe the first or second week of December. I'll contact you guys.
Thank you, Les.
Hey, thank you. It's always an honor for you to be on my show. I think I just love talking to you guys. You're courageous men, and you're true patriots and Americans. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Les. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Les Naiman Show. We'll be back after the news. If you'd like to call the show, call us at 571-0970. 571-0970. We'll be discussing many issues of the day coming up after the top of the hour. We'll be back.
970 WGTK, Louisville, broadcasting from Terry Satellite City Studios. Want to save big on your cable bill? Switch to satellite today. Call 964-DISH.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Obama says he's hoping to get some things done with Congress before the end of the year.
We should be able at least to get through the lame duck, making sure that taxes don't go up for middle-class families starting January 1st, that some of the key business provisions that can assure economic growth get done.
He told reporters on Air Force One that he wants to take a more bipartisan tone and move away from what he calls an obsessive focus on policy. Also at SRNnews.com, authorities are hoping an Ohio man who's now charged with kidnapping can lead them to 3 people who are still missing. They say a 13-year-old girl who's also been missing for days was found in the man's basement, bound and gagged, but alive. Knox County Sheriff David Barber says the girl's mother, 10-year-old brother, and a 41-year-old friend are still missing.
Unfortunately, as of right now, we have not located Tina, Stephanie, or Sarah's little brother, Cody.
Barber says the girl is hospitalized in good condition. A report chronicling the history of the Justice Department's Nazi hunting unit criticizes the government for knowingly allowing some Nazis to settle in the United States after World War II. The 600-page document stated that America prided itself on being a safe haven for the persecuted, but also became in some small measure a safe haven for persecutors.